Maze.
Welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. This is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine. If you enjoy this programming, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Join Truth and Rhythm's membership program through Patreon. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm.
It's a pleasure to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm Mothership Theo Williams, who has spent decades traveling the world as a stage manager and in other key roles for two of R&B and funk's most legendary bands. From 1985 to 1994, he helped keep things together for Kool the Gang and later moved on to Frankie Beverly and Maze. He's here to share some of his fascinating experiences, memories, and behind-the-scenes insights. Theo, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you, Scott, for inviting me.
Where are you coming to us from today, Theo?
Right now, I'm coming from Douglasville, Georgia, which is about 30 miles west of Atlanta and about 90 miles to Birmingham, Alabama, off of Interstate I-20 area.
And is that where you're from originally?
Yes, I am originally from Winston, Georgia, which is 5 miles off the county seat of Douglasville, Georgia, between Billerica, Georgia, and Douglasville.
Okay. So you've never strayed too far?
No, sir. Not at all. Been far gone and wide around the world, but home is home, you know.
I understand. I'm not too far. I'm just up the road in Charlotte area. So, well, Theo, so can you tell us a little bit about, the role that music played just as you were growing up before you got involved, with any of the bands? What was it like for you, as a teen with music and what happened, way back then?
Well, back then, I come up always wanting to be around the music and have been around the music. And with my friends and family and cousins we grew up with, listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire and all of these different musical groups. And then it became, my brother was in a band called the Chaparrals, which came out of Winston, Georgia. Lisa Sparks and Horace Henry, the guys, we toured around with Marvin Gaye, Temptations. I was only like 15 years old, and I was doing a night chitlin circuit with all the boys, with Dr. Khan. We opened for so many of them, you know what I mean? So that's the start of why I got into the business.
Did you have a big family or?
Yes, I have siblings of six of us.
And what about, did you try your hand at playing or could you sing at all?
I have no rhythm, Scott. I can walk to the piano right today and pick a song and listen and pick the notes, but I have no rhythm to carry on the rhythm of the groove, they would say.
Isn't that strange? You can like really, sometimes folks can really feel it as much as anybody, but then when you try to execute it through an instrument, you just can't quite do it.
Yeah, I can pluck it. I can play the air guitar, the bass guitar in the air, but I can't play physically. I can't not play it because I have no rhythm.
Well, you're a big man to admit that. So yeah. What would you say, Theo, was, a couple of the groups that you saw back in the day that completely blew your socks off?
As far as Keith, Larry Graham's Hit Station. I did 5 years with Cameo. I did Bootsy Collins for a year as his tech. Color Me Bad for a year. Kool the Gang for 9 years. Frankie Beverly and Maze for 29 years. Next, and Brick for about 3 months. Atlanta owned Brick for about 3 months. So I've been around with a lot of groups for about 55 years, I think.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, you mentioned some that predate Kool the Gang. So thank you for that because I didn't have that information. 5 with Cameo. Okay. So, the very first though, was that Larry Graham or who's the very first?
My first group that I started working with Cameo back in 1977. 77 to 1983.
Okay. So you really, earned your stripes with Cameo when, they were just out of the gate, and really at their peak coming out of the gate. And back then, I know in the beginning, I saw them around 77, 78 in Los Angeles at the Hollywood Palladium. And it was a tremendously big group, like 10 or 12 guys.
One of the best bands as far as a finesse that they was own pocket. They was one of the best. We toured with Rick James, Zap that year. The time, even though Prince came out and he was mixed because he never wanted anybody he didn't trust anybody to mix for the time. He did not trust nobody, but he was at every show.
But how'd you get your first gig? How'd you get your first job?
My first job, I'll tell you, was with a group when I grew up with the guys Cameo. I was offered some jobs with Larry Graham through Benny Collins. Benny passed a few years ago, but Benny offered me. We was out on tour with Larry Graham with Chaparrals, and Benny offered me, but I had to go back to school that year, high school still. But then after that, Anthony Lockett from Cameo, he wrote "Feel Me." So many songs he wrote for Cameo. "Feel Me," "Arco," and you can look back and you can see Anthony Lockett's track. Well, when he left the Chaparrals, he moved to New York City to work with Cameo, and they had an opening. And he offered me the job, and I had an aunt that lived in Newark, New Jersey. So I asked her, say, "Auntie, she's more than welcome. You come on and stay with me." Stayed with her for about 3 months, and then I got my own place in New York, and I was with Cameo for about 5 years, like I say.
And what was the first, responsibilities that you had with them?
My job was a key tech, guitar tech. We drove, me and one other guy. We drove from city to city, 400 and 500 nights overnighters. And we set the gear up, and we broke it down, and we drove the truck to the next city. And then once the last show of the week, we drove back to New York City for rehearsal for 4 or 5 days, and back on the road again.
Was it, how much of it was fun versus hard work?
You know what? A lot of it, Scott, was a lot of fun. When you enjoy what you do, work is not an issue. It was more fun than issue because you enjoy what you do.
Mm-hmm. So, what was one or two unforgettable experiences you had just while working with Cameo?
One was one night. Well, we was driving one night, and we had a show in Phoenix, Arizona. And the show was canceled for the next night, and it started snowing. Then all of a sudden, the show was back on. And, of course, me and my partner, we had been at the bar. And you almost off the bridge, at the point. And then one night when you walk up and there's you've been just told that you've been fired by a guy named J.R. Smalley. He's the guy that was with Kiss for so many years. He was our tour manager. J.R. Kiss, when Kiss started, they were rehearsing in J.R.'s parents' basement over in Brooklyn, New York. And you can read the story in the book. But J.R. was a good friend of mine. And then J.R. said, well, all of this stuff doesn't matter anymore, Theo. Larry said, you fired. And I would say, it doesn't matter to me. So a few minutes later, Larry came by the dressing room, and Larry said, Theo, what's this I heard about you fired? Well, Theo, hold on, wait a minute. You're not fired. He was the one that told J.R. to tell me that I was fired. But it really didn't matter to me. So I remember those days right to the day.
And you stayed with him at that point. That wasn't yet.
At that point, I stayed with them.
Yeah.
And then later, when some of the guys, they started disappearing. And went on and keep going on. So it's been a wonderful ride for about 55 years in this business.
Yeah, Cameo cut down to like 4 members. They were like, so big, and they really changed during those early 80s.
Yes, but right now I'm still working with a guy called the Word Up Story with Nathan Lieutenant and Tommy Jenkins. And then now we have Anthony Lockett and Arnett Lieutenant, and hopefully we're looking at Gregory Johnson Funk coming back with us.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I actually talked to Nathan the other day, and we're talking about maybe getting them all on the show here to talk about what they're doing. So very exciting that they're all back together again. It's time to bring that real funk back.
It's a phenomenal thing when these guys get back together, because these guys are the ones that wrote the music, and they are so much family oriented, They're so wonderful guys.
Yeah. So do you have any memories from your time with Graham?
When we would walk into the stadium and his items, his stage gear roll off, and it was, you just plug one plug in and everything was ready to go, already mic'd up. You just plug it in, and the thunder from his equipment was like, oh my God. Between that and me working with Bootsy Collins, it's been, when Bootsy plays, it takes the breath, because when he hits the low string, it's like, it's crazy. The power that he has.
Yeah. So Bootsy, how long? You said you were with Bootsy for a year, or how long?
Collins for a year.
Okay. And what year was that?
Around 1994.
Okay. So that was like the new rubber band. Yeah.
Yeah. Don Bynum. We had a great year that year,
Did you go with him to Japan or any place like that?
I did Japan and Europe with him. Great guy. Bootsy would, those guys would be smoking weed around him or something. And he's like, I don't told y'all don't smoke that around. I don't see it around here. No Bernie and all those guys be like, we sorry, Bootsy.
So, how did you connect with Kool the Gang? And what are a couple of memories from that experience?
Well, I connected with Kool and the Gang. I knew some of the guys back around 1983, 84. I had a nephew that was in a car accident over in Atlanta around about Six Flags over Georgia. I was going down to the hospital to see him downtown Atlanta, Grady Hospital. And then I parked and I saw the marquee that said Kool and the Gang, Flags over Georgia. So on the way back, I said, let me just go by and just say hello to the guys. And then they was all like, hey, Theo, what's up, man? Come on, go on the road with us. Nah, I'm not going on the road with you. Well, we're going to come back next week for the 100-year anniversary of Coca-Cola over at Georgia Tech with Chuck Berry and this and that. If you want to come on the road with us, bring your bag. Guess what? I showed up with a bag. And I jumped on the tour bus after the show, and I stayed with them for 9 years after that, all around the world.
And what duties did you do for them?
I've done all duties from Kool in the Game, from guitar tech, stage managing, production managing, set carpenter. I've done everything. When the tour manager said the flights are messed up, they said, go get Theo, come in and talk to the flight people and say, hey, let's get this stuff straight. You know, we got to go. Why y'all cancel our trips? We're going to sue you. We're going to do this. They said, oh, don't worry about it. We got you guys straight right now. So that's Kool and the Gang is my family. And he's the only original member left until this day right now. I love Kool. That's my friend.
Yeah, so, and it's so great. It looks like they're probably going to finally make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's overdue.
Yes, indeed it is.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So those audiences, though, were bigger and more diverse than Cameo would have had. You must have done some big crowds with Kool and the Gang.
We've done the Wimbledon Stadium 2 and 3 nights. I mean, I would fly from, say, home Atlanta, Georgia, fly to Paris, France, or some one show. Turn around the next day, fly back home to Atlanta. 2 days later, you're flying back over to Munich, Germany, or something. You do Munich, Frankfurt, or Stuttgart, or something like that. Then you fly back home 2 days later. Then you Perth, Australia, something, 2 days later. And from Perth or something, you go to Melbourne or Sydney and Bali or whatever, and you're right back 2 days later, you're back in Europe again. It's like, but it's a never-ending thing about going back and forth into Europe.
About how many people were there total to like make that happen that weren't in the group, but were in roles maybe kind of like yours, roadies and that kind of thing?
Probably about 9 to 10 people, just the support team, not counting the band members. Just staff, travel staff, the crew.
And did Kool and the Gang rehearse much, or what was their approach like?
At first they did a whole lot of rehearsing, but then the guys were so good at what they did, we just moved, man.
What would you say were one of the two biggest challenges you had to deal with while doing that for Kool and the Gang?
I really had no big challenges. When you get up in the morning, you don't know what you have to do. You go do your job, and then you, Kool and I would like say, okay, Kool. My biggest thing with Kool is like, he saw me come out of a club in Tokyo one year. Hey, Theo, what's going on with the club back there? Let's come on. No, man, I got to get up in the morning to go to work. I'm like, 3 hours. I got to be on the bus and the train, bullet train going to the show. Come back with me for a minute. And then after that, every night he'd be like, Theo, where we going tonight? Anywhere in the world, we go some club, just hanging out. And then he just loved being around people. Nothing extra. We just loved to be around people.
What were your 2 favorite songs to watch Cameo play, and also Kool the Gang?
Cameo was probably like Feel Me and Sparkle. And then Kool the Gang was Get Down on It and Celebration. Because Celebration was the end of the night. And now it's time to go home, go somewhere and relax and enjoy your evening, you know.
Who are some of the big stars on that Kool the Gang shows that you got to meet?
I met anywhere from Elton John to, it's just so many. Mike Tyson and we used to do a lot of shows in Vegas, Las Vegas, and Mike Tyson would come to the shows. And one night we went out on an expedition after sitting at the bar. The guy, he was on car dealership up in New York, where Tyson was from. And he would come and hang out with us, and he said, let's go flying tonight. And we all went to the airport and jumped on the plane. Me and Kool, Mike Tyson, and this guy, I can't remember his name, but we flew all over Vegas that night, all through we just all over Vegas that night. So you can't do that anymore these days.
Why did JT and the band go separate ways at the one point?
I think what happened was JT got swole a little bit, and he thought he was more in demand than what the other members was about. Just to be honest about. That was my perspective of it.
Did you sense there was some friction?
Oh, yes, there was definitely friction. When he left the group, when we're doing a show at Atlantic City that year, missed the first show, and he went to the dressing room. Just before the second show, he said, I'm not playing. So that account for the second show, and that was it. Diesel Stylist, Atlantic City.
Wow. So how long was it until they found another singer and started going again?
Oh, it was probably only about a month or two. Maybe more like a month. John Quilla, and he's still down. Skip Martin from the dance band was there. And the guys are still rolling today. They are a wonderful group in the gang.
But during periods like that, Theo, were you able to, only do that work, or did you have to supplement your income with other types of work?
Yes, I've done so many different things. I've had a concrete business on my own, pouring concrete physically. I had about 18 guys working for me pouring concrete over years, which that has right now. And I don't do nothing now, but just sit back and relax. I'm working with a group now. The guys formed Frankie Beverly and Maze. They call themselves TMF. It's released the album on March 15th. And it's a wonderful album. Everybody go out and get this thing. Jubu, Rome. The lead singer is Chris Walker. Chris Walker has a huge following. Him and Regina Bell and Larry Campbell, Theo Williams, Lance Taylor, Gavin Nepper. We get to roll this thing. I'm gonna roll with TMF and Nathan Lieutenant, Tommy Jenkins, The Word of Story, formed up Cameo.
Yeah. Wow. TMF, great, incredible band. They were on the show, I guess it was like January, but since then that record's come out and it's very impressive. I agree. Really good to hear them. Let's talk a little bit about those Maze years, though. So, how did you first get with Frankie Beverly and Maze?
Well, when I got a call from a guy named Mario Krill, the Austrian guy that works for a company called GLP, George Lightning Productions, out of Vienna, Austria. And he was tour managing for all of the guys that go, all the American bands that go overseas with GLP. He was like a tour guide or interpreter for these people. And he called me up when Maze had an opening to feel, how would you like to come and work with Maze? He did, with that Austrian accent. I said, well, I would like to right now. I can't do it because I'm committed. I'm going to Europe with the Bootsy Conning for 3 months. And after the 3 months, I'll be finished. But it's great timing. This is what it does. Why we need stage managing. And I said, I'm interested. And then everything just fell in place. And within the 3 months, I was out with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
And so, what were your responsibilities with that group?
I was stage manager for about 27 and a half years. Then finally, I became a production manager until actually 2023 of May the 6th. This was my last day with Frankie Beverly and Maze after serving 29 years.
Do you remember your very first show you did with them?
No, actually, I don't remember the very first show, but I was the stage manager. That was my title.
So, how does obviously stage manager, you got to make sure everything's correct on stage, but then production manager, how does that go beyond stage manager?
Production manager actually feeds and starts the whole process where he sets up the whole, as soon as the date is booked, he deals with the promoters, the lighting companies, sound companies. He stages everything to bring everything to the head, basically.
So a stage manager then would report to you as production manager, right?
A stage manager will go to report to the production manager.
Right.
The production manager runs the whole everything. He runs the whole shebang.
Yeah. So
manager books. He coordinates the flights, hotels, making sure people has their flights, hotels, set up the times for the sound companies, lighting companies, time of the load in, food schedulings, and the whole 9 yards of a show.
That's a lot of moving targets.
It's a lot of parts to it. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Wow. What was your first impression of Frankie Beverly? Had you met him before that?
Yes, I had met Frankie prior to that. And that's one of the reasons that I've always enjoyed his music, Kool and the Gang's music. I left Kool and the Gang to come and be a part of the Maze shows because I believed in their music and I loved the man.
Mm. So what are your 3 favorite Maze songs?
um, joy and pain, and feel it what you feel, man. It's all good. Happy feelings. It's so many.
Yeah, those are definitely two of my favorites too. But I like some of the funky ones too, like Southern Girl and
Southern Girl. Look at California. So it's a lot of good songs here. He's a wonderful guy. Wonderful.
what was one or two of the most unforgettable road experiences with Frankie Beverly and when it was still going?
We had a bus driver out, and his name was Grave Digger. Grave Digger was driving the crew bus, and I forget who the band's bus and Frank's bus, and we all stopped at a truck stop together. And Frank said, "Who was that brave nigger over there?" Excuse me. It was a brave digger, not brave nigger. Excuse me on that one. But that's been a remarkable memory for the rest of my days,
You were probably splitting your side.
Oh, yeah, oh yes, indeed. It's still split down here.
Did the group tend to clown around a lot, or what was the vibe like?
It's been a family-oriented, everybody supported of everyone. It's family.
So did you see the parting coming at all, or were you totally surprised? Or
Oh no! It's family. We're family. We party and we have fun together.
but did you anticipate? I mean, because I know I forgot his name, but his longtime manager passed, and I know
Joe,
that yeah, and that changed some things. And I was
yeah,
thinking that probably led to this eventual, you know.
yeah. Joe was the glue for the group, for the band. Joe, uh, he's a Mobile guy. He's was a wonderful guy. I can't take nothing from him, Joe Douglas. He's missed, very missed.
And he's a club owner too down there, right? In Georgia.
Yeah, Backstage Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the last gig you did with Frankie?
My last show was May the 6th of 2023, the New Orleans Jazz Festival.
Well, that's quite a way to go out.
Yeah, it was quite a different show. That's the show that the TMF boys with his original band split 2 days before the performance because things happened with management and it's just life goes on, Scott. Life goes on.
But that must have been some anxious time for you though when that happened.
Actually, it was. It was and it wasn't. Because when you're trying to do a split on two different things, my thing was I love the band guys. I've been one of the guys I've been here with most of the guys except for Rome. Then I brought them in the door,
Yeah, so I'm sure it was gut wrenching for you probably. Plus you had to scramble to make sure the production still came off, right?
Exactly. Yes, I did.
Where'd you find guys to play at such short notice?
It wasn't me. It was that came on. I didn't even know the guys wasn't showing up until these new guys showed up.
So you're like, what the?
What is this? Theo, there's a rehearsal tomorrow night. What? Oh, you don't have to be there, but Nobody knows what's going on but me.
So what was more challenging for you to sort of navigate, the JT Kool the Gang thing or the band and Frankie splitting up?
Oh, been very challenging on the split of the Maze. The guys, they love him so dearly. It was just a thing about a miscommunication overall.
So often that's lies at the bottom of things, with people. It's funny and tragic, and communications, just everything.
And it is, And that what happened was the new management came in and nobody knew when the next show was. And you cut off all the communications. And you can't communicate, then you don't have nothing. When you go home in the evening, you can't talk to your wife, or the wife can't talk to her husband, and you both sitting there looking at a cup of coffee. Is this my coffee or is this your coffee? And nobody knows, so nobody drinks coffee.
Molehills definitely become mountains when people aren't communicating.
That's true.
It's ironic in a profession like making music and writing songs, and because that's all about communicating with people on that level.
And you have a wide audience out there, and if they can't, you can't communicate with your audience, then there's no communication.
Yeah. What was Frankie like off stage? Because most only know his onstage persona, of course, super smooth and all that. What was he like off stage?
He's been a gentleman, and he's just been a friend. That's all I can say. He's a friend.
And he's retiring, right? Or he retired yet?
Supposedly he's retiring, but I don't think right now he's retiring.
These guys are all saying that, like George Clinton was retiring, and Larry Dotson of the Barcades, he left the Barcades, said he was retiring.
Who wants to retire? This is your life. When you've been doing this for 50 years or so, Mick Jagger, he don't want to retire. Who wants to go home, lay down, and don't wake up the next morning and you say you retire? You feel me?
Yeah, well, I think it's also hard to give up when people want to hear you and see you. It's hard to give up that adulation and appreciation.
Well, there's been a fan base, and you got to keep your fans. That's your goal, is to make sure your fans are still your fans. Why would you retire and leave your fans standing in the line with nothing to do? The Rolling Stones, Kiss, Pink Floyd. There's so many of them out there.
Yeah, but they'll say they're retiring for what I guess they think they're going to, but then they don't. Yeah.
Well, it's hard to go home. As soon as you say I'm gonna retire, you go home and you sit there for 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, I'm bored. I don't have nothing to do. Man, you call up your agents, your manager, something. Book me some shows, man. Let's go. It's time to roll. Yeah.
And before they know it, they're just back in the full swing.
And a lot of them, it's not about the money to a lot of them, It's not about the money.
Theo, who's a couple of singers or bands that you saw through the years that you did not work with, but you thought, man, they are just something else special?
Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd. And I like a lot of stuff like it's just like Al Jarreau, he's gone now. It's so many of them out there. And I've had opportunities to work with a lot of rap, but I will never work with a rap group. It's just been too much negativity out there with the rap scene for me.
Oh, but you had opportunities.
Very much, yes.
Did you ever have to get involved with or encounter like any irate fans, maybe intoxicated fans or groupies or anyone that kind of was a problem for the singer of the band?
Oh yeah, but I've put so many people out of venues. I mean, just grab them in the back of the belt buckles in the back, and just a little lift up, and just say, keep pushing them out the door. You gone, get out, and that's it. Last straw, last dance.
Did you ever you mentioned the time, did you ever get to meet Prince or come across Prince?
I met Prince when I was in 19, I think 86 was when Prince Paisley Park opened up. Kool the Gang was the first people to use the building. They didn't even have occupancy permits, but they went ahead and let them perform there anyway. We rehearsed out Kool the Gang for a week. And then, like I say, Prince came on the road after that with the time as their engineer because he didn't trust nobody else to do their engineering for his band. But yeah, we stayed in Chanhassen, Minnesota for a week rehearsing at his facility.
So did you get much exposure to any of the groups in the studio?
Very much. I've done 4 or 5 albums from Cameosis, Feel Me from Cameo. There's been other artists that Brick even. Brick, you know who Brick are?
Of course, yeah, they'll be on the show.
The Atlanta boys. I traveled with them also. So it's been a great ride, Scott. It really has.
So in the studio, though, were you just hanging out, or did you actually help out in different ways?
No, just hanging out. Go pick up some food and listen, and just sit there and just be with moral support, you know.
I hit my head.
But it's been really good sitting there in the studio listening. And I'll have credits on a few albums, you know, so it's all good.
What can you say about Larry Blackman as never mind, you know, the acrimony that there's been, but as a talent, as a guy back in the day, what did you see with Larry Blackman?
Larry is a very talented guy, and he's not a fan of mine really, but his band members are. But I still respect Larry as an artist.
He just seems like a hard guy to get along with or something. I mean, through the years.
Well, it's not a pleasant where I don't think he treats his people right. Being honest.
Yeah. Of course, very unfortunate to hear that, especially
what comes around.
Karma, baby. Were there any shows where Maze ended up being on the same bill as Kool the Gang?
As I recall, yes. Well, we did when I was doing Kool the Gang, Maze opened up for a few shows up in Paris at the place called the Zenith. We did about 3 nights in a row. It's about a 5,000 seat arena, and then we did some other shows together. But yes, it's been a good ride.
The thing about those two groups, both so good and so successful, but Kool the Gang, for whatever reason, had so much crossover success. They had a lot of pop hits, whereas Maze never crossed over. They're just a black music phenomenon, you know. And do you have any thoughts on maybe why?
Well, you know, you got to pay the piper. If you know what I mean, when they pay. So when you could say whatever you want to say, like the Grammys or whatever. If you don't pay in, you don't get nothing out. Frank should have had Grammys years and years ago. So many Grammys. And Kool the Gang has Grammys. So many people got Grammys now really don't deserve the Grammys. But when you pay in, you can get out. When you put your money in the bank, you can go get some money out of the bank. If you can't put no money in the bank, you ain't getting nothing out of the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever see any underhanded tactics at any of the shows, like any of the bands maybe trying to sabotage, the setup of another one so they didn't get upstaged? Because that certainly happens out there.
Well, no, I have never, and I've heard of a few times, but my success is I was always willing to help someone, because as long as you're helping someone, there's a greater outcome. If you help someone, then you're trying to sabotage someone. You see, the thing about it is, my word is my bond. And if I'm in your friendship, I got to be honest with you, and you got to be honest with me. So that means we can't sabotage no one, and can't never think about doing something that would be, it's just crazy.
Did you ever sense like Maze or Kool the Gang or any of the other acts you worked with were kind of worried after maybe another band opened up and just lit the stage on fire, and they were kind of concerned that they had to follow that?
Oh, yeah, that's been plenty of times. When Cameo back in the 77, 78, 79, 80, and one of the hottest bands, as far as musically and the performance and just to the eye, that the way that they moved on the stage, they was actually performers. Cameo has been one of the greatest. You can't take that away from them.
Yeah.
And people would always like, oh, the Barcades. We toured together with Barcades. Oh God, Barcades, Zap, and Rick James. and that was a character there himself, Rick James.
Well, how much exposure did you have to him?
Quite a bit. I remember Rick James one night, he came to the sound check, and the lady had her catering outfit outside the stadium, and Rick jumps out the limo, and he said, he picks up the pot, put it back on the shaping pan, put it back one on. The lady was bent over and looking back at some other gear. She said, "Get your hands off my pots." Rick James said, "I'm paying for this food." That lady said, "No, but these are my pots." I said, "Get your hands off my pots." And I mean, get your hands out my pots. He jumps back in the limo and pulls up 30 feet and goes into the arena. And that was the end of that one.
What year about, like it must have been around his peak, right? Close to 82?
80, around about 82. That's right. 80, 81, 82.
Mm. Yeah. So did you work any of those funk fests like that included, say, Parliament Funkadelic?
Yes, I worked the Funk Fest, cool jazz festivals, so many of them.
So did you cross George Clinton at all?
Yes, like I say, I worked with Bootsy Collins for a year, along with Bernie Warrior was there. And that was one time just before Bernie passed in the 80, 90, 97. I was almost about at 99% getting George, Bootsy, and Bernie back together again.
You said they were or you were?
I was getting them back together.
Oh yeah, because I know the three of them worked together on one track in '96 because they were bringing the mothership back at that one show in New York.
Yeah, after that, they wouldn't, that was 95, 90, yeah, about 97. They wouldn't talk to each other. Bootsy and George, Bootsy and Bernie would work together, but they didn't deal with George at all.
So how'd you try to mend that fence?
I was just at the point where I was talking to all three of them.
Again, communication.
There it is. There you go.
I mean, there's some money involved too, somewhere along
What
that.
happened was Barney developed this cancer and ended up passing. So that nixed that. So, but I'm working on quite a few deals right now. Like I said, I've been in this business about 55 years. In
Yeah.
this change.
Yeah. Well, you look healthy. You look good. You seem good after all that. None the worse for that wear, right?
Well, I'm hanging.
It sounds like that kind of work helps keep you young, you know? I mean, you got to be a little bit physical and you got to keep the mental sharp too.
Well, when you love what you do, Scott, it ain't work. Like I said before, it ain't work. You just do what you do.
Yeah. Do you think there's any chance that TMF and the Cameo guys might play some shows together?
Oh, yes, I think so. We're working hard on things to go.
I told Nathan that they got to come to Charlotte. You know, I mean, it's not too far away, and not nearly enough, you know, funk and R&B comes to Charlotte. Believe it or not, these days.
Well, I spoke to Nathan on Friday this past week, and we're getting ready to start some work.
Looking back, Theo, what are you most proud of accomplishing in your, you know, career related to music? And
It's been one heck of a ride. I've traveled the world, highly educated on travel, and it's been just a ride, you know. Wouldn't never did anything differently.
do you happen to know Stuart Gray?
Yes, I know Stuart Gray very well.
All right, because he's been on the show. I don't know if you knew that, and he's somewhat of a friend. When he was on the show, he talked about an organization, Roadies of Color United International.
Yes, yeah, very much.
Yeah. So is that something that folks should be aware of and supporting?
I like the idea, but me and Lance Jackson, one of the uh, original guys of Roadies of Color, I like the idea, but the way they're moving right now, I really don't. It's like say the Grammys. When you putting people in front of people that's already been there, I don't appreciate that.
So there's some politics in there somewhere.
Exactly, that's what I'm getting at. So if you know, like I said, and me and Lance Jackson goes back to about 55 years, and you bring somebody that's just now getting on board. Where's my accolades? You know, and I don't need nothing to anybody to say that, oh, this is what you deserve, what you get. But why would you bring some younger guy in and give him all the props and he's just joining on the team, you know? You don't know.
But do you think there's opportunities for, you know, young people to get into, you know, work in shows? And
well, right now there's a lot of young people coming in. And like I say, but then when the younger people come in, when you don't respect the guys that already been your forefathers, have been there, you don't even know where they are now. You don't know who it is. I can't. A younger guy come in and get a job before I can get a job. But right now, I don't need a job.
yeah, but if you were just, you know, college age or young man today, How would you try to break into it?
I really don't know because Scott, when I grew up with it, I was hands-on at 13 years old, toting a speaker in the back door of a jitney circuit, what they called it. And I worked myself up. And then I studied at the bench, electronics. So I don't just go out and tour. I know how to repair instruments also.
Well, it sounds like you had to be a jack of all trades, really.
Yeah, I'm a jackass of all trades. Excuse me. But really, I'm a jackass of all trades. But I keep it going, you know.
Well, before I let you go, if you're so inclined, what would be your top 5 albums of all time?
My top albums of all time would be Feel Me by Cameo. It will be Animals by Pink Floyd. It would be Cameosis by Cameo. Just of the Gemini by Gino Vanelli. And Asia by Steely Dan.
All right. Well, there's some good variety.
Yeah.
I thought you might name, because a lot of people do, something by Stevie Wonder, and then I was wondering if you ever met Stevie Wonder.
I never met Stevie, but I saw Stevie perform once over in Africa on the Ivory Coast.
That wasn't around the period when he was campaigning for Martin Luther King's day, was it?
Oh,
like 80ish?
It was in the 80s. Yes, it was.
Yeah, because he was, I know over there doing that a lot at that time. But is there any other messaging you'd like to get out there to soul, funk, and jazz music lovers that'll listen to and watch this?
No, I just say, everybody, keep your heads on straight, honor God, and trust in the Lord. He will make a way for us, always.
Excellent. Theo, man, it's been so great getting to know you, and so glad you could finally spend some time with me and share this with all the fans.
And hopefully we can talk again soon.
Yeah, and if you guys are in Charlotte, I'll definitely probably get to meet you, hopefully.
I'm coming to see you, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks,
God bless.
man. Okay, you too. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.